Welcome to Kingdom Fit, where we are starting a new series today. For the next 4 weeks, I am going to be hosting some guest teachers and some guest speakers, and today is my favorite person in the whole world, Steven Caldwell, which is my husband. And Steven, we are sitting in our prayer room that we built right here beside our house, and I want to get to the point in your testimony of why you built a prayer room for our community. But we have to kind of go back, don't we?
Yeah.
And see where this journey started. Because if you live in our small town or around our small town, you may have the thought that we've just gone off the deep end.
Oh, I'm sure. I think we're done.
So, Steven, where do you want to start?
Oh, goodness. Man, I mean, I guess it would go into our, maybe, I hate saying this because it seems like our story always goes back to this is our start. But
It kind of is.
Our infertility,
Yeah.
And it's whenever we started trying, it was a lot of hard years.
It
was
was
really hard, and we questioned so much away. Because what we was, y'all, if it sounds like we're cutting our parents, it is no way that.
No.
Not at all. I don't mean it like that. But the way I was brought up to think, and this is all my fault because I didn't interpret the scriptures. I had the Bible too, so was that I had to work for everything I got. And so whenever we start trying to have kids, there was so much going on right there with infertility, paying for all the hospital bills that you was going through a lot.
And other health things that were going on.
Man, there was just so much. And, basically losing everything I had ever worked for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And just going down the drain. I mean, not really everything, but
the majority of it.
Yeah. And it was just like I was having to start all over, and it was the most humbling, it was a hard.
Because nothing seemed to work. Like you said, when you were taught that you work hard to get ahead.
And I'm so thankful Dad taught me that.
Oh,
how
absolutely.
to work hard and get ahead, because that's the way the world's laws are set up.
Yeah, you have to work hard.
Kingdom laws are different.
Yes, you work hard to get ahead. So we translated that into our spiritual walk. If we're not getting the results we want, and for us was getting ahead financially, and which was us getting pregnant, we just aren't doing something right.
Yeah.
We're not praying enough.
Yeah.
We need to fast more.
Yeah.
All this biblical stuff,
Yeah.
but we were taking it way out of context
my
because we
goodness.
did not know God's character or God's nature.
We didn't know He already done it.
Yes, we didn't know He already liked us.
Yeah.
Yes. So before we get to that, so I would say in 2009, we were in a church that we helped start, and we
still love.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes, we love this church. But you were put on was it the nominating committee? No, the pastor search committee.
Yeah.
And you had just become a deacon.
Yeah.
And so you begin to have these questions of what kind of pastor are we going to look for?
Yeah. And I was so confused. I mean, I'm young and didn't know much of anything about the Lord. And there was so many questions come up about King James Version. There's questions. Well, this woman wore pants last week, or it was just this. There was just so many different aspects of questions that you, as in leadership, back then we thought we had to have an answer for.
Yeah.
And when you're looking for a pastor, this is what we're going to go after. And so I went to some of my past pastors and people, preachers that I love and respect to this day. I went to them and asked them, What's the deal about King James? I mean, should we just push the King James version and that's the only one? Is that
And why?
And why? And do you read anything else? And do you study out of anything else? And everyone I asked said that they study out of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And said it's more of a political thing. You don't want to, you don't want to stir the pot. This has always worked. Keep it here. And it was just so many different things, and just across the board. And I come home even more confused. I mean, I really did, because I'm like, if they showed me in the Bible where you do not change it, because I've had so many people come up to me and say, don't change a dot and a tittle or something like that. I forget the verse exactly. But the King James is a thought for thought too. It's not word for word. The only way you ever get word for word is learn Hebrew and Greek, and you can't translate it over to English. But anyway, so at that time I'm like, man, I even got more confused. And so I'm questioning so many things, and so at that time is whenever we felt like maybe we were supposed to leave, because you don't want to push stuff down people's throats.
No.
I mean, you don't.
And so many people at that church were our family.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to hurt the church at all.
Man,
yeah.
These people I love with all my heart, and I just didn't.
And it's not that we were wanting to change their mind.
No.
We just knew what God was showing us.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we're confused about church. We're confused about why we're not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Confused why our business is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad are going to Hawaii in February of 2010 for the anniversary. I think they see the state we're in. I'd be blind not to.
Yeah.
And they paid for us to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we go. Now I will say this. The night before, which is amazing how God is, the night before we left is probably the lowest spot you and I had ever been in.
Yeah.
Not only in our marriage, but individually, emotionally, we had come to the end, and we're like, what in the world are we doing?
Yeah.
And
we had then lost everything, went through depression. I mean, what I hate to say, truthfully, is I come to the end of the road where I was wanting to end it. I mean, I just felt like a failure in every aspect of my life, and felt like there was no hope. I didn't think God would ever use me again, and that was the night before, when I come to the end. We sat there and cried and talked all night long.
we did.
And just working out issues, that just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And thinking, this is the end.
We did.
What do we do?
We didn't even know. I mean, we were committed to each other, but we didn't know if our marriage would make it.
I know.
We didn't know. I mean, we were thinking, how could a marriage make it? We don't even know who God is anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know why He's not heard our prayer.
Yeah.
We don't know why He's not listening. Does He
Yeah.
not care? And then we get on the plane, and we get from Charlotte to LA, and from LA to Kauai. We're sitting there, and Steven sees this man. I love this part of your story. I feel like this is like your God moment, and everything shifts
I do too.
at this point.
I really do.
All right, you go ahead.
Well, this guy come walking up on the plane, his shirt said, "Yay, God." And y'all, this is the way my mind was set up at the time. I really thought for you to be a Christian, you had to look, talk, and act just like me.
Surely not, Steven.
And this guy had dreadlocks down to right here. He looked like, at that time, he looked like a black guy because he had really dark skin. And at that time, this is sad to say, it's just true, I was a racist. I feel so ashamed to tell you all this, but it's just facts. I judged him up one side and down the other.
But the thing is, to that moment, you really didn't realize you were racist.
No, I didn't know it. I mean, I wasn't like out here telling people I was that.
Yeah.
It was just in my
your heart.
So when we got, we taxied out and, leaving to Kauai, and as soon as the plane went up and leveled out that 1,500 feet where it takes your stomach, I'll never forget that moment. That's the reason I always tell it, because at first I'm thinking, is this me or is this God? Because, I mean, that, it always takes your stomach right there. And it was just a weird feeling. And so now I know it's God. But at the time I'm like, did I really hear this? But it's the first time in my life I've ever heard God speak to me. And he said, I'm going to paraphrase it and make it shorter, but it's basically like, your love for the world is what's sending them to hell, because you love nobody. And didn't know how this was full circle to what Todd White told me later. I never put this together, until later. But
so that guy Steven saw on the plane you just heard was Todd White.
Yeah, it was Todd White.
Right after he become a Christian.
Yeah, right after he became a Christian. I mean, he
had no ministry yet. This was just fresh off of salvation.
Yeah, I mean, he just got saved. It was right before anybody knew him. All this stuff. Now he's huge. But we landed over there, and I remember telling the Lord as we was going over there, because I just knew the plane was going to crash.
And that was your concept of God.
That was my concept of God. That's how messed up I was. But I was like, God, if you let me get off this plane, I'll apologize to this guy. So we ran down the baggage claims. I tapped him on his shoulder, and he turned around and looked at me, and he said, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" And I said, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I pray for your ankles?" Just like that. I mean, it freaked me out.
You had no time to apologize to him yet.
I didn't have no time to say anything. That's exactly the way he did it and said it. And I'm like, sure. Well, 2 planes had just unloaded, so there's a ton of people down there.
I remember that.
And I really, whether you admit it or not, I did care what people think, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he's praying.
He's on his knees.
He's on his knees, got his hands on my ankles, and he's praying pretty loud. He did not care. I did. But I'm sitting there, and my ankles got so hot. I mean, it's like a 10-second prayer. It's no long prayer. Yeah. It's a 10-second prayer. My ankles got so hot, I thought they were going to melt. And man, I mean, I was just like, what's going on? He stood straight up, and he said, "Now can I pray for your L4 and L5 vertebrae?" Man, what he didn't realize, my ankles hurt all the time from running a loader, skid steer, playing basketball, doing what all I done. I always move my feet, and my ankles always hurt. My L4 and L5 vertebrae, I went to chiropractor that week 3 times for those. And he said, "Sit down right here." And so I'm thinking, man, this guy, what in the world? I mean, I'm so scared. I thought, is this voodoo? What is this? I didn't have a clue what it was. And what is amazing to me, y'all, is I knew that the devil...
You thought the devil had power.
Yeah, I thought, until I learned to realize it. I thought the devil and psychics and palm readers and witches and warlocks, all these people had power and they had authority. But I never knew a child of God had any. And I knew the devil had power because I always gave him all the credit for everything.
Yeah, every
wrong.
bad thing, yeah.
But I never gave God any for all the things He'd done right and done good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I did, but not really.
Not really, yeah.
And so I'm thinking, man, this is crazy stuff. And I remember putting my hand in my pocket because I thought, if he touched me, I'm going to hit him and walk off. I mean, I really did. It's so bad to say that, but I was scared. Well, this guy set me down beside the round. There's a pole with a round seat around it. Set me down. He said, "Sit right here." Man, this guy never touched me. He prayed for me. Another quick prayer. You think it has to be long and drawn out? No. It was a quick prayer.
And by now, people are watching.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm super embarrassed anyway. So, but I do remember that. People start watching because, like you said, he's not praying quietly. No. But it's a short prayer, and sure enough.
And man, my back started moving and twisting, and I wasn't in control over it. I mean, it was doing it on it. The Lord was moving it. I mean, it's really, and so in that, I'm looking at Brooks so scared, and I'm just crying because I cannot look at him. So I'm just looking at her, just bawling. And my left leg moved out. I'll never forget it. And my back quit hurting. My ankles were not hurting. I stood straight up and I said, no, I sat there. No, yeah, I'll tell you that. I got ahead of myself. I said, what in the world just happened?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think I said, what the crap just happened? Right,
Mm-hmm.
like that. And he said, man, it's Jesus. He's so in love with you. He's so on board with you. He wants to, it just sat there and poured out, and I was like, this is not the Jesus I know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I've never experienced, the only miracle I ever believed in was my salvation. I didn't believe in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I got to tell you something. I said, this whole thing started because I had to come to you to apologize because I'm a racist. I said, I will never be a racist again in my life. I said, I want to ask your forgiveness. And so we started talking, and this guy at the end, he said, man, I just feel overwhelmed to pray the love of God over you. When this guy prayed over me, I mean, everything in my life shifted.
It did.
Everything. I mean, I started seeing people differently. Because you cannot love people until you know how much you're loved.
That is so true.
You cannot forgive people until you know how much you're forgiven.
Yeah.
And man, it was just like I was striving on my own to do all these things until I seen what the Father had done for me, and then I was able to give it out freely. It was an overflow of God's love and for God's forgiveness for me that I was able to give to others.
Right.
And I love them.
Oh, man, that's so good. It makes me think of when you said that, Matthew 11, where Jesus is saying, are you tired? Are you worn out on religion? Then come to me and let me show you what rest is. And then in Hebrews, where it talks about that people don't enter the promise that he has for them because they won't enter his rest. And so what God was showing you was, I don't need you to work for me. I don't need you to strive for me. I've got a real rest because I finished everything you're trying to work and accomplish.
That's it.
I love you because that's who I am. It's not a part of me. I am love. So, and what's funny, I get so excited hearing our story now, but it has to be kind of like the disciples and reading the story of Jesus. They were probably so confused when it was going on. And looking back, they're like, oh, it makes sense.
That's it.
And I remember in that moment, and even when we come back from Hawaii, something shifted in your life, and I will attest to that because I got a front row seat. Something changed, and I was, and probably you too a little bit. I was so confused. I was so confused. Looking back now, I can see that's where it happened. That's where our encounter happened, and everything in our life got switched around.
And you know why? Why? It's because we come to the end of our road.
We quit trying.
We quit trying.
We gave up.
We gave up
That's
completely
so
with all the works that we were doing. I mean, we were actually at a church. We'd done everything. Went to a church that nobody even knew was hardly there. It was too big. I mean, we went to a church that needed us, to a church that didn't really, and not mean it's mean. They didn't care if we was there. You know, I mean, they really did, but you know what I'm saying. And it was just giving up on everything we had tried to do to please God.
It's realizing God doesn't need me, but He wants me. And that's what is mind-blowing. He doesn't need me, but He wants me so bad. He loves us so much. And I think this is a great place to stop.
Because I can't wait.
Yes, we're gonna do a part 2, maybe part 3. I don't know. It's just incredible what God began doing in your life the moment you realized how much you were loved. The miracles you've seen. The miracles you've witnessed in your own life. And so will you stay a little longer and we'll talk about that? Nowhere to go. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to check back tomorrow where we will post video 2 in Steven's incredible testimony of the goodness of God over our life. See you soon.